Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lamarr Townsend, and I'm a psychic, an astrologer, an energy channeler, and a tarot reader. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also make sure you check out my podcast, Lamarr Townsend Tarot, on Spotify, Apple, as well as Google, and more. The links will be in the description box below, or my profile, or the comment section below. This is also a podcast episode, so this episode will be on my podcast. Make sure you also follow me on my Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all my other social media platforms. My handle on those platforms is Lamarr Townsend Tarot. In this podcast episode and documentary, we will be talking about Michael Jackson and the dark side of being a child star. We'll be analyzing Michael Jackson's natal chart, and we'll be looking at some major aspects that indicate why Michael Jackson's childhood as a child star was maybe a little bit more difficult than we imagined or would think. Michael Jackson is a legend, and I'm a huge fan, and I've done quite a few readings on him before, including a natal chart, birth chart reading that I'll try and link below on the YouTube channel, in the comments section or somewhere in the description box below. But if not, you can definitely find it on YouTube. Michael Jackson is a legend in the music world, as he's music royalty. He's adorned us with amazing music that we still dance to decades later, and that we still appreciate despite all that he went through, not only in his childhood, but also in his adulthood. Today, though, we'll be focusing on Michael Jackson and his time as a child star. Grab a snack and sit back, and let's get into it. The dark side of being a child star. Michael Jackson. If you do a quick Google search of what time Michael Jackson was born, you'll find that he was born as Michael Joseph Jackson on August 29th, 1958 at 7:33 p.m. in Gary, Indiana. This would put Michael right on the cusp of Leo, but really making him technically a Virgo, as the transition between Leo and Virgo ends around August 22nd. But since he's still in that realm of August, which August is associated with the month of Leo technically, this would make him a Leo-Virgo cusp. If you know anything about Leo, the zodiac sign Leo, Leo is ruled by the sun, and is actually the only zodiac sign in astrology ruled by the sun. The sun in astrology rules creativity. It rules also your life purpose and your connection to your higher self. The sun also rules childhood and children. The sun also rules your vitality for life and your energy for life and your zest for life. So it's quite interesting that automatically Michael Jackson is a Leo cusper, which would definitely give him that kind of zest for entertainment, because Leo is the actor and the actors, or the actors and the actresses of the zodiac. Leos have a very lavish way of living life and expressing themselves, and they're very theatrical and very expressive, which is why they make good actors and actresses and entertainers. But Michael Jackson was actually a sun in Virgo. Virgo in astrology traditionally rules the 6th house. The 6th house in astrology is about work, your health, your job, your routine, meaning your daily routine, your sense of organization, and also your sense of self-improvement. Another interesting caveat about Virgos is because they have this 6th house energy of Mercury is the ruler of the sixth house and also is the ruler of Virgo. Mercury in the sixth house can create a sense of overanalyzation or over worrying or over stressing, which Michael Jackson was definitely prone to as a Sun in Virgo Leo cusper. One thing that's also interesting that you'll find about Virgos is that Virgos have this high sense of perfectionism, whether they're Virgo Sun, Moon, Rising, or if they have heavy Virgo or sixth house energy in their chart. Now, what we'll discover in this reading is that Michael Jackson actually has heavy Virgo, sixth house energy in his chart. Now, another interesting caveat about Virgo and Mercury energy is that Mercury rules your young childhood to your young adult years. This means that Mercury, the planet Mercury, is a heavy influence on your life, meaning everyone's lives as a totality, but in this case we're focusing on Michael. But Mercury has a heavy influence on your life as you age and grow up from a young child to a young adult. This means that the energy of Mercury, whether it shows up, in the form of the sixth house or the third house, because Mercury also rules the third house, Gemini, all right? But the energy of Mercury is going to stay with you from the time you're born up until you're around the age of 18 or 21. From there, you go into your ninth house energy, which is your Sagittarius years. This is when you start to form your own opinions and your own beliefs, and you start to go your own way in life. But it's difficult to grow up when you have such heavy Mercury energy in your chart. It's difficult to form your own opinions and your own beliefs and to live life the way that you feel life was meant to be lived. What we'll find in Michael Jackson's natal chart is that he was meant to live out his career and the restrictions of his career until the end of his life. So was it a good thing that he passed away at an early age? Definitely not for the world, for us. But it might have been a good thing for Michael and his soul in order to evolve and grow past the limits of his lifetime as Michael Jackson. Also being a Virgo and having that strong Virgo energy in his chart, Michael Jackson also had a 5-planet stellium in his 6th house. Now, based on the information online and the information in terms of the time he was born, this would put his 6th house at somewhere in Leo. This would mean that his job, based on his natal chart, was to entertain. But he also, based on what we know, may have had his Venus in Leo in his 6th house. Venus is how you make your money. Venus is also how you spend your money. And as we know, Leos are very lavish people. All right, so Leos like to live large. Venus and Leos like to live large. And as we know, Michael Jackson liked to live large, a la his friend Elizabeth Taylor. He lived like a king. But the interesting part of that is that that also became a part of his life, in his daily routine, in his work. And all of this meant that his work became his life. Think of the interview with Martin Bashir, or the interview where we got to see Michael Jackson and how he lived towards the end of his life in Neverland Ranch, and how he amassed all those wonderful statues and things like that. That was Michael's Venus and Leo. But it was exploited in the 6th house. Now, the interesting thing is that Michael Jackson worked for those things since he was young. But also since he was young, his whole life has been exploited. He had Uranus in Leo, which meant that he was very friendly amongst people in the industry. But when you're in the entertainment industry, who can you really trust? With Uranus and Leo, everyone might want to be your friend when you have Uranus and Leo in the sixth house in Leo, just to get famous. So not only does Michael have this immense pressure as a young kid to live up to this crazy work schedule and life that he's creating for himself, he also has to learn as he ages and grows up, as we learned towards the end of his life that he became very untrustworthy, that not everyone is trustworthy, not everyone can be your friend. But what a tough lesson to learn at a young age, and especially in the realm of work and your daily routine. And this could mean that, people left and right may have been betraying Michael Jackson or selling, things to the newspapers. Or when you have this placement, you have to be very careful of the people you keep around you. Because once again, your friends with Uranus and Leo in the sixth house can also affect your work and the people you keep around you. Become a part of not only your daily life and life outside of work, but it's also possible, highly possible, that it can also become a thing at work. I mean, think about it. Michael Jackson's friendships were exploited. Chris Tucker, his friendship with Elizabeth Taylor. And one of the things that we always heard from Michael himself was how he never felt like he had friends or could have friends as a young child, because everything was centered around work. His work friends were most likely industry people. Could also be adults. But being in that type of industry could also expose you to things at a young age that can be good and not good. Michael also had Mercury in Leo in his sixth house. Mercury once again rules your young childhood to young adult years. It also rules communication, intellect, and the mind. It's also important to mention that Venus rules the throat. And in this case, Michael was meant to sing, entertain people through singing. But the interesting thing is that Michael also entertained us with his friends. Think of Bubbles the chimp, right? With Mercury in Leo, there was a fascination towards Michael at a very young age. Almost immediately. With Mercury in Leo. And when you have this Leo energy, it also can create this need or pull to live up to other people's expectations. Mercury in Leo by nature is also once again very expressive. So Michael, especially at a young age, was very expressive, very lively. Remember, Leo, the sun, that's your vitality for life. That's the person in the morning, they wake up, they're excited about life. They're excited to do what they do. But towards the end of Michael's life, it seemed like he was tired. It kind of seemed like he no longer enjoyed what he was doing. Mercury Leo in the sixth house can show that your work can inhibit the way you communicate with others. Meaning Michael had to be very careful of what he said and who he said things to, and he never knew if he was being recorded, or everything had to be about work. Everything had to center around work. The possibility, of something being a moment, and that moment creating either a blessing or a stumbling block in terms of his job. With Mercury and Leo in the sixth house for Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson's job and his work may have created restrictions in terms of how he really was able to express himself, in terms of how he really felt. Now, the great thing about this is that he had the right vehicle in terms of his job to be able to express himself in a way where he was able to get some of what he was feeling out, specifically him being an artist. But even in him being an artist, you're restricted by an overarching entity, with this being in the sixth house. It's literally a job. A job you clock in and clock out. A job that someone else signs your checks. And if you don't do what that person says they want you to do, you might not get your check. This was Michael Jackson's life, essentially, from a very young age. Michael Jackson also had Pluto in Virgo in his sixth house. Pluto is the planet of death, evolution, change, growth, spiritual growth. Virgo is once again the sixth house, which is ironic that it shows up in his sixth house. But Pluto in Virgo can show death from work, overworking yourself. Virgo is also the sixth house, so it can very well be death via disease or illness, not taking care of yourself, which we found was true. But with this being in the sixth house of Mercury, it's highly possible that this may have been something that Michael Jackson had been set up to do from a young age. We have to remember that Michael Jackson kind of comes from that time and that era of the golden era of Hollywood. The era where they wanted their stars to be robots. It was like a factory. You wake up at a certain time, you show up to the studio, say your lines, sing your songs, and then you're expected to go back to work or go back home, go to sleep, wake up again after maybe not getting home till midnight, and do it all over on a consistent basis. Which creates a workhorse, especially with this type of chart with Michael. But with Pluto and Virgo in the sixth house, it can also create an environment where work can become the enemy. Completing the fifth house, or completing the sixth house 5-planet stellium is his sun in Virgo. So Michael Jackson, yes, was born to be a workhorse. He was born to entertain and born to do what he was meant to do. But that was at the sacrifice of his childhood. It was at the sacrifice of growing up way too soon. Now we have to think, what about that ninth house energy you were talking about earlier? The Sagittarius energy. Yeah. Michael had his ninth house, based on what we know, in Sagittarius, which meant that he definitely was gifted with good luck. But he also had his Saturn in Sagittarius in his ninth house, which meant that no matter where Michael went, He could never escape his job or his work or what he was known for. The ninth house, Sagittarius, is long distance travel. It's foreign affairs. It's international affairs. It's your personal philosophies and beliefs, yes. You forming your own personal philosophies and beliefs. Sagittariuses are very open-minded people. Saturn is also the father. Saturn rules your career, your professional destiny, your status in society. As we very well know, Michael Jackson's father was a big part of him becoming a child star and becoming so successful. It's definitely safe to say that without Michael's father, Michael maybe not would have been able to push past certain comfort zones of his own in order to achieve success. But it's also safe to say that based on Michael's chart, it's his father solely that may have pushed Michael in a lot of ways to grow up faster than he maybe wanted to or needed to. When you have your Saturn and Sagittarius in your ninth house, you can't escape your job. You're automatically thrust into what you're meant to do with this type of chart. And then when you want to revert back to your young childhood days, as he did when he got older, once again you're met with work. It's all about work. And then we have the scandals with the children. Really, maybe he did just want to connect with his childhood and relive those times of his life. But what Michael Jackson forgot, that he learned at a young age, is that everything is about work. Nothing you do in this lifetime as Michael Jackson cannot be about work. Every move you make has to be considered how it can affect your job. And eventually you want an escape from that. So once again, I pose the question, was the escape from Michael Jackson death? This is the dark side of being a child star. Michael Jackson. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow my podcast, and subscribe to my podcast. Keep in touch with me on my social medias, and I'll see you in the next video. Love and light.